Previously on the Rubin Report.
Do no more karate studios and vape shops?
Why don't you want karate studios? And I used to bring a big-ass python out there.
We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence.
Hopefully Kevin McAllister wasn't killed.
Ignorant people that support him.
The woman married her brother. All right, guys, I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. It is November 26, 2025. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so I promise I ain't gonna drub you over the head with too much political, cultural nonsense. Today, I'm talking like Jasmine Crockett right at the top of the show. Yeah, we're just doing a RubinReport.locals.com community Q&A. Little bit of politics, little bit of cultural stuff, some fun stuff, some food stuff, and all that. And more than anything else, if I leave you with anything today, is take a little time to get off this thing, enjoy the family, enjoy the friends, enjoy the food, be thankful that you live if you're watching this from America, or even if you're an American watching it somewhere else across the world, and even if you're not an American at all, but you like America, that this is the greatest freaking thing ever, and we have so much to be thankful for despite all the lunacy. And I know I will be spending some time being thankful for an awful lot, including you guys for supporting what we do here. So let's just dive right in. Jeff gives me an appropriate question to kick this off with. Jeff, what are your Thanksgiving plans this year? So we host Thanksgiving. I will be handling the turkey myself, which I quickly glanced at the questions. I will answer the how do you smoke a turkey question at the end. But we host this mostly with David's family, and he's got some great chefs. We are going to eat extremely well. I will definitely post some pictures of all of the stuff and the beautiful table that we set up. And we're very big on getting the house seasonally in order. So we're very Thanksgiving oriented right now. And we just rolled out of all the Halloween stuff. And it's just a long day of eating. We start with a butternut squash soup at around 2:00, and then we eat usually at about 5:00 or so. We'll see how long we can last at the table. That probably mostly depends on the kids. And we're not going to do we don't have too many football watchers around here, so there probably won't be any TV. I don't know. Maybe can we do Thanksgiving? Can we all jump in the pool on Thanksgiving? I guess we could probably do that. Maybe run around the backyard a little bit. Really, just kind of enjoy each other and enjoy the day, and go around the table and say what we're thankful for. If you don't do that, that's a good little tradition to have. Like, everyone should be able to come up with something. Brian says, I just watched Megyn Kelly's conversation with Erika Kirk. They talked about the division in our country being evil. What are ways we can walk alongside you and others to combat evil? Well, first, I would say get some skin in the game. Speak up. Tell people what you think, especially to the backdrop of where you're watching this just before Thanksgiving. And I know most people don't want to do politics at that Thanksgiving table. I usually don't. But one way or another, it kind of gets there. That's the thing, is politics and culture have kind of collided, and politics and media have collided. Everything feels political these days. And if you don't want to necessarily talk about politics at the table, someone probably does. And you have to gauge how much energy you want to put into that. But I would say being forthright and telling people what you think. There's that great quote from Edmund Burke: the only thing that's necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. And I think that largely is what we see. Most people just, you just want to kind of get by. You don't want to ruffle any feathers. You don't want to upset somebody. You don't want to piss off your wife. You don't want this, that. And then evil spreads, because the people that are in it for the revolution, they're always out there, going for the revolution. And if more good people would just stand up, this is what I believe in. I'm for America. I can live next door to somebody who thinks some different things with me, but if you're proud to be in this country, if you abide by the laws, you can have your traditions, you can have all this stuff. Fight for it. So get involved a little bit. So I would say if you're at the Thanksgiving table and it's coming at you, don't just, I know the inclination, right? Especially after the meal, you want to just undo the button and you just want to get up and give up and go lay on the couch. And believe me, I get it. And I will do some version of that. But if it's getting hot, push a little bit, not to be nasty, not to be mean, not to, oh, I'm right, you're wrong. But because otherwise, one of the things they did during COVID, or one of the things that went so crazy during COVID, was everything became so impossible to talk about because people thought it was literally a matter of life or death, that they stopped talking altogether. And even though I wouldn't want everyone to be talking about politics endlessly at the table, if you can't do it with your family and work some of this stuff through, then what are we left when it comes to like a national discourse? Rapsack says, "Hey Dave, I was just thinking about the future, about the other future possible government shutdowns. Oh, and there will be more. Wouldn't it be a sound idea for the Republicans to pass a law that allows all those affected to be able to take money out of their 401ks or government retirement funds to help during the shutdown without any penalties, and then allowing them to pay back the money into retirement funds without any penalties?" That's actually a great idea. Do we know anyone in the government around here? I mean, that's actually a great idea, and I will offer that up to somebody. Right. They should pay no penalties if they right. So they're getting furloughed. They always do get the money back. That's the way it's always worked. But for that temporary period, when somehow the politicians are getting paid, but they're not getting paid, could they at least take some money out of government-run retirement funds without the penalty? And then as the government reopens, they could put that in without penalty. That actually sounds like a great idea. I see absolutely no downside to do it. And I will think about who I can talk to about that. Nimbus. We love Nimbus. Nimbus says, "Do you think Jasmine Crockett will win the Texas Senate primary?" So, unless something has happened in the last 5 minutes, as far as I know, Jasmine Crockett is not necessarily running, but she has sort of floated the idea. She's a congresswoman from the Houston area, but there will be a Senate race in Texas, and she's kind of saying that she probably will dive back in. Oh, I see they're giving me some polymarket numbers on this. So Texas Democrat Senate primary winner. So this is for the Democrat primary, not the overall winner of the Senate seat. James Tallarico at 50%, Jasmine Crockett's at 45%, Colin Allred at 29%. So I don't know much about the other two, so I can't really comment on them. Look, if this is the direction that Texas wants to go in, I mean, Texas is in a lot of trouble. But remember, Texas actually has gotten more sane. There was a period about 5 years ago where Texas was looking a little wacky. There was the Beto O'Rourke thing, and he almost beat Ted Cruz. And then there was this feeling like Austin, which is weird blue Austin, was going to spread across the state. They've largely pushed back against that. Will Crockett run? I mean, she strikes, if nothing else, besides an eyelash model, she is a fame whore. So I see it as sort of an AOC kind of thing. It's like, why not? What else are you going to do? So she'll strap on the eyelashes, she'll put on the fake accent, and she'll get out there and run. Will she win? I pray not, for the safety of the union and certainly for the sanity of the people of Texas. Let's talk about Noble Gold for a minute, and then we'll get to more questions on the other side. You guys, gold has officially gone mainstream. Every day, more and more Americans are discovering the power of gold. But how do you actually take advantage of it and invest in a simple way? Well, that's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. Their specialists are trained to help investors like you go from confused to confident. Whether you're looking to roll over your old 401k into a gold IRA or want physical coins and bars delivered right to your home, Noble Gold makes the process simple, secure, and stress-free. You'll get step-by-step guidance, transparent pricing, and U.S.-based service from a trusted team that's handled over $2.5 billion in precious metal transactions. With Noble Gold Investments, protecting and growing your wealth isn't just their job, it's their commitment. Visit DaveRubinGold.com to claim your free wealth protection kit. That's DaveRubinGold.com. Noble Gold, helping you build a stronger future. Olaf says, "What is your favorite side for Thanksgiving dinner? Mine is apple cranberry stuffing with sausage." That actually sounds particularly good. Sausage, apple cranberry. There's something going on there. I'm a stuffing guy. You know, I don't eat that many carbs. I'm basically off the sugar altogether. There's a local guy here at our farmer's market who every Thanksgiving we pick up the apple pie from, and a pumpkin pie. I'm not a big pumpkin pie guy, but he makes a freaking killer apple pie. And he ran out even though we had pre-ordered them, and then he literally dropped them off at our house, drove all the way down from Fort Lauderdale. Great guy. Amazing pie. I will have a little sugar tomorrow. But during the meal, I'm a turkey. I like the stuffing. I don't need the mashed potatoes. I definitely don't need a salad. I'll have some, green beans or asparagus or something, and a generous helping of gravy and some cranberry sauce, and I'm good. But stuffing, I just love stuffing, really, because I don't eat that much of that kind of stuff. And we do smoke the turkey, so a lot of people, there's always the thing: do you like turkey? Do you hate turkey? Do you want to ban turkey? Do you do a Thanksgiving meal just with ham? Do you not? I'm telling you, if you smoke a turkey on a big green egg, we'll have more on that in just a second. Everyone's going to be happy. Glenn says, what do you think about the theory that Nick Fuentes is actually a leftist pretending to be what the left thinks a stereotypical conservative is? Honestly, I would believe anything at this point. Coming after a week of finding out that so much of the interaction on X is fake, which I've thought for a long time, and I'm always talking about the algorithmic tricks and the bots and all of that stuff, but finding out now for sure that so many of these huge accounts that were pretending to be American with 500,000 followers were actually Pakistani accounts, just watching some of the infighting on the right that just felt so artificial. And as I'm always saying, I talk to people in real life and people are good and decent and everything else. And then you talk to people online and all hell's breaking loose. It went from a regular mirror that was a reflection of us to a funhouse mirror that made us all look distorted. I would believe any version of that. If you told me this guy was a Fed, if you told me he was a lefty, well, he is a lefty in that he voted for Kamala and he hates Trump and now he's turning on, I don't know, it's all just dramatic drivel. Sarah says, hi, Dave. Do you have a favorite holiday? If so, what is it and why? Well, Thanksgiving's the easy answer because it is Thanksgiving right now. And I do love Thanksgiving because it's it's like, you're just thankful and it's a lot of food, right? So it's easy. But my favorite holiday actually is Passover, because Passover, for any of you that have ever participated in a Passover Seder, you sit around the table and you read the story of Passover. It's the age-old, eternal story of freedom, right? It's the Hebrews going from slavery to freedom and going to the promised land. And if you ask some people on the left where that promised land is, they'll be very upset. But it's the story that's told time after time after time after time. It's the story of humanity, right? Like how to fight oppression, how to be free, how to go out and be on the adventure of life. And there's so many little things in it. Like there's magical things in it that you may literally believe or not literally believe, like the splitting of the Red Sea. There's the idea that Moses, at the end, he leads the Hebrews out of Egypt and then he doesn't himself get to go to the promised land. Like there's multiple philosophic ways to think about it and talk about it and to just retell that story year after year. And you're supposed to have 4 glasses of wine, which I've instituted a little tequila thing in that, but yeah, it's pretty good. Heidi says, hey, Dave, I think Zamboni was being polite because he's asking now, mandating later. He was already elected. Why do you think he was asking for money instead of mandating it? Was it just timing? So you're talking about how he has now put out, I think, 4 different videos asking for money for his transition campaign. He needs $4 million for researchers and all of this stuff. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. That's why when I played the video earlier this week and you see him smiling and they do the jump cut and he's like, but I do need your money again now. It's like he's like spitting in their faces. It's like, I told you this shit was all free, but at the end of the day, I just want cash. And by the way, at my victory party on election night, we charged $13 for a can of Bud Light. Like, it's utterly fraudulent. And I think kicking people in the nuts about it is actually baked in. They want to break everybody so they will all become pathetic, weak, and dependent on them. Let's talk about Prolon and then more on the other side. We've all set health goals, but without a real plan, they fade fast. Prolon fixes that. Their 5-day fasting mimicking diet gives you a structured, science-backed way to burn fat, support metabolic health, and rejuvenate cells. In just 5 days, it activates fasting pathways while still letting you enjoy real food. Prolon works at the cellular level to reset your body for sustainable, fat-focused weight loss. And with the new next-gen 5-day program, you'll get the same proven benefits with cleaner ingredients, better flavor, and more convenience. Prolon's a plant-based program of soups, snacks, and drinks that nourish you while keeping you in a fasting state to trigger cellular renewal. Developed over decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by major medical centers, Prolon supports healthy aging, metabolic health, energy, skin, and appearance. For a limited time, get 15% off site-wide plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to the 5-day program. Visit prolonlife.com/Dave. That's PROLONLIFE.com/Dave to claim your free discount and bonus gift. Colorado says, are there structures in place for the federal government to prosecute state governments who allow program monies to be directed towards terrorist organizations? Well, there's definitely law, like RICO laws and things of that nature. I don't know if you're talking about something specific right now, but I do think we are going to find out as time goes on, as things get exposed, and it's much more difficult in the day of the iPhone and everyone having cameras and paper trails and emails and everything else to hide things. I think we will find out more and more that a certain part of the Democrat Party, the progressive, the Hamas caucus, that these people are in bed with organizations that support terror. We know that. Like, there is just no doubt that that is what Rashida Tlaib and others are up to. And when they're out there chanting for, globalize the Intifada and River to the Sea and all of these things, that they're working with organizations that are flooding our streets with people who will be violent and all of this. So there are some levers that the federal government can pull. One of them, I think Donald Trump did this week, which is that he announced that the Muslim Brotherhood will now be considered a terrorist organization. Now, he did not include Qatar or Turkey on that, which is not great, but he did make some moves on that. And then you can start tracking where the money is going and figuring out who is involved and seeing, that's a little odd. How did that person there who works for CARE, who's involved in some of this stuff, and we know that CARE is connected to the Muslim Brotherhood, why were they having a sit down with Rashida Tlaib, and what did they talk about, and blah, blah, blah. So we will find out a lot more on that kind of stuff. Largo says, hey, Dave, if you haven't already answered this, I'd like for you to answer it now. Do you snore? And if so, how loud? Do you also talk in your sleep and sleepwalk? Would be funny if you did all three. That would be funny if someone did all three. That's a bit much. I don't. I have become, I'm very proud to say, in my old age here, I have become a very good sleeper. I can, at the end of the day, I can put my head on that pillow and within 5 minutes, I'm out. As I've mentioned lately, 49 years old, going to pee around 3 a.m., got to deal with that. But then the second I get back into bed, I'm asleep again. So no, I'm not a big snorer. I'm a pretty good sleeper. I've become a good power napper. Give me 20 minutes in the afternoon. I'm thrilled. I love that little siesta. So no, I don't snore. I wish I had a funnier story to tell you. Elizabeth says, I understand the sentiment of the best way to combat bad speech is more good speech, but does there come a time when we should ignore and not platform certain beliefs? Or does that only add fuel to those spouting said beliefs when they claim their beliefs are being shut down because they're correct? I'm mostly asking in relation to the recent dramatic rise in anti-Semitism being pushed by certain conservative voices. Well, look, this is an interesting debate, and I've mentioned this many times. First off, if you have a show, I have a show. I'm my boss. I can platform who I want and choose not to platform who I want, and that's up to me. The idea that you have to platform everyone is kind of insane. If there's just people saying completely absurd things or going after you personally or your family or whatever, you just wouldn't do it. And we know that if it's interesting. Fuentes has played an interesting game here because he's let's say 80% anti-Jew, 20% anti-black. If he flipped that, then I don't think Tucker would be into putting him on. So he's playing like a numbers game. How much sort of racism and trolling can I get away with this group versus this group? A little bit on the Indians, but there's like a weird tolerance thing that even people on the right can deal with, where if he was just screaming N-word, 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 it would be completely radioactive, even though he says plenty of terrible things about black people. So you should be able to platform who you want. You have to decide what you want to do with that. But what I would say, and this is what I do say, is that I think it's incumbent upon me as an interviewer to find out what my guest is thinking. And I find the best way to do that. I'm not a particularly combative interviewer. I can be at times. When I had Piers Morgan in here, a couple weeks ago, the second half of our interview was quite combative. And then we shook hands at the end, and then he had me on a show the next couple days. There's all ways to do it. But what I like to do is ask sort of open-ended questions that then if I sense someone doesn't know what they're talking about, or they're lying or trying to manipulate the audience, you can feel it. Like, I trust you, the audience, and you can watch them kind of wrap the noose around their neck and kind of hang themselves. You really can. But I hold my job to be something that is, serious and important, particularly in this time, right? And some people are going to do it a complete other way. I think Tucker, we know when he wants to grill somebody, look what he did to Ted Cruz. Look what he did for years and years at Fox, always grilling leftists. He chose to glaze Fuentes, and you should make the conclusion on that. My conclusion is obvious, but you should come to a conclusion yourself. Like, at the end of the day, I want you to think for yourself. I don't need to think for you. So everyone has to decide what they think. Meemaw says, are you at all worried that Turning Point USA will start heading in the direction of anti-Semitism, anti-Israel sentiment, given the fact that Tucker is still one of their key speakers and makes his views seem cool to younger voters? I thought we were going to do less politics today. Okay. We'll do more turkey and tequila in a second. I am concerned about the direction that Turning Point could take. There was a video that was going around yesterday of Tucker on a podcast talking about how he hates Republicans and he doesn't want to support the Republican Party. And it's like, all right, well, what does Donald Trump think of that? What does J.D. Vance think of that? His son works for J.D. Like, those guys are going to have to make some decisions as it relates to the direction of the party. But as for Turning Point, I would hope that Turning Point would honor Charlie's spirit. And Charlie's spirit was about freedom more than anything else. And Charlie desperately wanted a wide tent that welcomed all sorts of people in it. He didn't want America to be a religious theocracy. And I hope they will continue to honor that. My gut feeling is that it's going in a slightly different direction, but we will see, and I will root for a more positive outcome. Deplorable Denver Dave says, Dave, your new Copal is the best tequila I've ever tasted, but that's when I have it on the rocks. When used in a margarita, the excellent, distinctive Copal taste is more difficult to distinguish. Please comment. You say that you are now living in Sarasota in the free state of Florida. That's great. Well, Rumble's over in Sarasota. Maybe we will drink Copal together one day. But yes, what we created with Copal was I wanted to create a brilliant and exquisite and light and refreshing Reposado, aged 3 months, clean, and something that you didn't need to put all of the additives in. And you didn't need simple syrup, and you didn't need all of the stuff that people are putting in cocktails. I like just having a little bit of tequila, one rock, and sipping it. We had, it was Phoenix and Joseph's birthday over the last week. I had the team over. I was doing very, very simple watermelon margaritas with literally a splash of watermelon juice and a little bit of lime juice and tequila and ice, and that's it. And it was great. Was it great? It was great. Everybody was very happy. Now, your point is when you put it in a margarita, you're not going to taste it. Yeah, because we went with I wanted to create like a sort of refreshing flavor, not an overpowering flavor. And that is what we accomplished. And I'm so proud of that. And that's why the reaction to it has been so great. And we sold out again already. We'll have it again. We should be restocked in about 2 weeks. It's en route from Mexico right now. And then hopefully people will be able to get it before Christmas. But yeah, the thing is, that's why people, when they order a margarita at a restaurant, you rarely ask them for a specific type of tequila, unless you're like really a top shelf person. You're just like, oh, give me the house margarita. And they're putting kind of usually just base level kind of crappy tequila in there because they're putting margarita mix in there. They're hitting it with lime juice. There might be some orange juice in there or Cointreau, whatever it is. So the flavor of the tequila is not that necessary. So long story short, if you're drinking it on the rocks and loving it, that's the way I want it to be. And I'm thrilled to hear that. And if you're putting it in a margarita, it's still going to be great. But yeah, you're going to lose some of that flavor. That's just natural. Let's talk about balance in nature for a second, then a couple more questions. Getting enough fruits and vegetables every day can be tough. That's why I love Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements. They make it simple to add a wide variety of whole foods to your daily routine, all in just a few capsules. These supplements aren't just convenient. They're made from 100% whole foods with no binders, fillers, or flow agents. Just 16 whole fruits and 15 whole vegetables that are freeze-dried, lab-tested, and packed with natural goodness. You can take them with water, chew them, or even mix the powder into your favorite food or drink. However you use them, it's the easiest way to get more real fruits and veggies into your day. Right now, you can get a free fiber and spice supplement plus 35% off your first order as a new preferred customer at balanceofnature.com. Just use code Rubin. That's balanceofnature.com, promo code Rubin. Akbosco says, do you think that Marjorie Taylor Greene or any other member of Congress deserves a lifetime pension after only 5 years on the job? I have been led to understand that she set her retirement date for 2 days after vesting that benefit. Wow, well, I did not hear that specifically. I'll take your word for it. No, they should not get lifetime anything. These people all make major, major bank while they are in office. Can you check on the numbers on Marjorie Taylor? How much money did she have in her bank before she got in and 5 years later? I mean, she's made a crap ton of money. I'm not even implying that she's done anything toward, but somehow her, Nancy, all these guys, they make shit tons of cash while in office. Should you live on the government dime forever because you were in office for 5 years? No, I don't think so. And maybe we can get some numbers on that. We're hunted for some numbers, but let me get to another question. Damien says, any good shows you've been watching lately? We started this show that seems to me that a lot of people are absolutely loving right now. It's on Apple TV called Pluribus, I think it's called. And we're episode 3 in, but we've watched about 7 times because I get on that couch at night, after we put the kids down, and now it's like 9:30 after we've kind of wrapped up our day. And I have about 20 minutes of wake time, and then I'm just unconscious on the couch. It's just, as I said before, I'm a good sleeper and I just can't. So we've watched probably 7 times for about 3 episodes, but it's a completely original story. It's, it's kind of sci-fi. You sort of feel like you're watching a zombie movie. There's multiple layers. It's super, super interesting. And eventually I will stay awake and watch the whole thing. According to Yahoo Finance, Marjorie Taylor Greene states that she went from around 700,000 when she took office in 2018 to being worth 25 million in 2025. And what do they make as a congressperson? You're making like 170, something like that. I'm not a mathematician, but 170 times 5, you're looking at less than $1 million. And somehow she's worth $25 million. It's like, come on. Come on. All right, one more question, which will wrap us all up and set us off to a beautiful Thanksgiving. Mitchell says, care to share any smoked turkey, big green egg tips or recipes? So first off, one thing that we do that if you're growing your own herbs, which we have a really beautiful garden, and we've got a whole bunch of things here. We've got the oregano and the parsley, and we've got rosemary, and there's some mint that's not going in the turkey. There's sage, which will go in the turkey. We got all kinds of stuff that we're growing right now. If you can use fresh herbs, and by the way, you don't have to grow them. I mean, you can go to your local store and still, as opposed to using dry herbs. I think that's a key part. But as far as the big green egg, basically you want to get it so that you're between around 300 and 350 and use the indirect, I think they call it the convector plate, basically, so you're going to get indirect heat, right? Because when you close that thing and you fiddle with the top and you fiddle with the bottom and then you get that temperature to 300, 350, somewhere around there. Don't go above 350 though. With the indirect heat, you can take time. You can really take time to get that smoky flavor in there. And you can add, the charcoals generally, the big green egg charcoals have a nice amount of flavor. Sometimes I don't add any wood chips, but you can add hickory or you can add oak or whatever it might be, apple, whatever it is. And you do it's usually about 15 to 20 minutes a pound, I think, something like that. And you will have the most beautiful, it's beautiful because the color you're going to get on that turkey on the outside and the skin is going to be crisp and it's going to be nice and juicy on the inside. It's going to be smoky and it's going to be spectacular and you can stuff it with some extra stuff. And now I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. I'm ready to go. All right, let's get out of here, guys. You want to go on vacation? Everyone going to go home, enjoy some turkey? All right, it's turkey time, people. Have a good one. I am thankful for you guys, and we'll see you. Well, we'll see you live on Monday. We pre-tape something for you tomorrow, I assume, but we'll see you on Monday. Adios.